In Comp 1, you're required to use MLA format for your essays. A lot of students do have a little experience with this, but a lot of students have only a touch of it or no experience at all. Under Week 3 lectures, there's an MLA sample essay. This is from the Purdue University webpage. You can find it. If you click on it, it gives you a nice sample essay that's perfectly formatted for you. We're going to hit a few highlights, but it's available for you to review on your own. Notice at the very top, on the right, there's a page number. There's a number as well as the student's last name. You'll need to put this in a header at the top. Then on the first line, this is not in a header. Just at the top when you open your document where the cursor is already blinking, you'll put your full name, my name, your class, and the date. Notice this is on the left, it's double spaced, and it's in the same size font as the rest of the paper. Notice that all of the paper has 1-inch margins. The title is, once your double space is on, the title is only 1 space down from the heading. Do not move it down further into the middle of the page. Also notice that it is centered, but it is not bold. It is not underlined. It is not italicized. All the important words are capitalized. This is all that sets it apart as the title. You do not put extra space between the title and the first paragraph. The first paragraph should be indented. Moving down, you'll notice an in-text citation. The in-text citations should match the works cited page, which is the last page of the essay. Whatever the first word on the works cited page is, I'm going to scroll down there. For that source, richest is the first important word cited. It is alphabetized by this word. Therefore, that has to be the word in parentheses so that we can find it easily. A citation, a quote that uses this source, would need to have this in parentheses. Something by Kent would have Kent. Carnegie would have Carnegie. The reason is because these are in alphabetical order, and the purpose of the in-text citation is to take you directly to the citation here. The citation within the text, or in other words, the in-text citation, refers you to the works cited page. The information on the works cited page gives you the information to find that source yourself. Notice that there is the first word, which is typically the last name, but not always, and a page number. If there is no page number, you simply leave it off. If there is a page number, it must be there. Notice there is no comma, no letter, no symbol between the last name and the number. Only last name, 1 space, and then the number. You can either cite a quote by putting the information in parentheses at the end of the quote, or you can introduce the quote by stating the name before. However, if you do that, you still have to give the page number at the end. Let me see. Oops, go back further. According to historian Stuart Blumen, then we have the quote, and then we have the page number. Typically, this is the preferred method, because if you were to read this paper out loud, it would be obvious that there's a quote and you gave credit orally to the author of the quote. However, this is also common and acceptable. A common question from students working on their essays is what to do if they want to quote something from the source they have, but what they want to quote is actually a quote from a different source that author used. If the source that you are using is going to be what you put on your Works Cited page, rather than finding their original source, you have to put the author of your original source. Your specific source. So if this is the book that you're pulling something from, that's what goes in the parentheses and on the Works Cited page. However, you can let us know that this is a quote. Simply in parentheses, preface the author's name with QTD period space in for quoted in. That lets me know that this is a quote from this source, but not his own words. You can give credit to the actual author by putting that information in the sentence. So I know that it was Carnegie that actually said this, but McCloskey is the one that quoted it. Plagiarism is not limited to just copying and pasting specific text. If you even steal the author's ideas, you're still plagiarizing. That means that if you paraphrase, no matter how many words you change, you're still taking their ideas. Anytime you summarize or paraphrase, you still need to use an in-text citation. Notice this example in the sample essay. According to the PBS documentary, this is the title of the documentary, not a quote from the documentary. This is a paraphrase of what occurred in this source, and this is when they cite the source. What they actually explained from it is paraphrased, not quoted. A quote is when you use the exact words of the author. If you tell the idea in your own words, you're paraphrasing. But either way, you have to have a citation. Many students question whether the period belongs before the in-text citation or after. The answer is after. The in-text citation is part of the sentence. It's not the beginning of the next sentence. So the period belongs after the in-text citation. If you have a quote, the quote should come before the in-text citation because the quote does not include the author's last name or first word listed on the Works Cited page. So this, the in-text citation, is not part of the quote, but it is part of the sentence. Notice whether you have a quote or not, the period always comes after the citation. It's actually best to quote as little as possible. Paraphrases are preferred. But there are times when the words are extremely important and you really want the words in there, but occasionally words toward the beginning and words toward the end are important, but there's some extra information in the middle that is either unnecessary or maybe even distracting. So can you take that out? Absolutely. In fact, please do. The way that you would do that is by using an ellipse. 3 dots are called an ellipse. This quote was actually longer than this originally, but they didn't want what was in the middle, so they put the beginning, used an ellipse, and went straight to the end. If your quote is 4 lines or more typed, or some people prefer to say 40 words or more, but approximately 4 or more lines, you should format it as a block quote. There are 3 things that are different about a block quote. One is that they do not have quotation marks. They're obviously quotes because they're in a block. Second, this is the only time the period comes before the in-text citation. And third, obviously, it's indented, but not once, twice, and all of it is indented 1 inch, or in other words, you would tab twice. Block quotes should be used very sparingly. It's always better to quote something short or to paraphrase. Notice that from the right there is no indentation. Also notice that the quote flows directly from the paragraph into the quote and then back into the paragraph. You should always discuss every quote, including block quotes. Avoid ending a paragraph in a block quote. The works cited page will be covered a little more specifically in another lecture, but a few things that I want you to notice is that the works cited page is alphabetized. Last names come first, and whatever the first word is, that's the word that belongs in parentheses. The title works cited is placed at the top. This is not bold or underlined or italicized or in a larger font, only centered. Works cited is exactly the way that you will put the title. Do not use the word references or bibliography, as those are not MLA format. Notice this page has a page number just like all the other pages. This is the last page of your essay. Also notice the hanging indent. The first line of every source is at the margin. Subsequent lines are indented. This is backwards from a traditional paragraph. Also notice there is no extra space between the title works cited or between any two sources. The way that I know that a new source begins is because it is at the margin. If occasionally you have a source that does not have enough information to go onto a second line, you would still place the next source in your list at the margin with no additional space between the two sources.